Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Jesse talks all things TDCJ and military. As always, I'm your host, Jesse. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, kick back. Y'all know what we're going to be talking about. Sorry for the inconsistency in the videos. It's been an absolutely crazy 2 weeks at the schoolhouse. Finally catch a little bit of a break, and I'm able to give you guys what y'all want, which is, well, more me talking about the prison. So, I had a viewer a couple of weeks ago ask what it was like working a 12-hour shift, having an hour commute. I don't know if the individual was talking about he or she had the commute, or if they were implying that I had an hour commute. I had approximately 45 to 50 minutes. Let me just go ahead and be upfront and honest and say it sucked. If there was a guiding principle that led to my resignation, that would be very high up there. If you guys are interested in why I resigned, I got a 2-part video about that. I should have mentioned the commute back and forth to work. I left that part out, didn't come to mind. But we're going to talk about it right now. So, what's it like? Well, at the Styles, we worked 4 on, 4 off. You're thinking 4 days? That's no big deal. Well, let's get to that. 12 hours. Those 12 hours started at 6:30 in the morning, went to 6:30 in the evening. That doesn't mean you're getting out of your car, walking up toward the facility at 6:30. No. You had to be through pat down, through the long walkway, through the first gate, through the door, around the walkway, 1, 2, 3 gates, 4th gate past medical, into the door, into segregation, go through pat down again, there in segregation, get back to the hallway, inside the turnout room. From the time I got out of my car, not taking an ODR break, officer dining room, from the time I got out of my car to sitting in the break room, took a minimum of 30 minutes. And that's if there weren't a whole lot of people showing up. So, we'll talk about how that routine works. Cheers, happy Labor Day. The academy doesn't prep you for that reality in the least bit. Class starts early. You got to get up. If you're staying in, I went to the academy there in Huntsville. If you're staying in that condemned building that I guess is still standing there at Sam Houston University, or was it Stephen F. Falls? I don't even remember which university it was. One of the damn universities there in Huntsville. Staying in that condemned building there. You'd wake up, have your little room inspection, go to class. All you had to do in the academy was be there. You just had to show up. You sat through classes in the morning, listen to some stuff. If we took exams, that everyone keeps asking me about, if we took exams, there was no way to fail it. I've searched my memory bank for as much as I can about what were the exams like, and they must have made no impression on me because they weren't any kind of deal. In the afternoon, we go outside, we do a little bit of calisthenics, we do some defensive training, and then we were done at the end of the day. Easy day. You did your unit tours. The unit tours let you see what the inside of the prison looked like, but we were in a big group. That safety in numbers kind of thing. All the cadets, very rarely were there any less than 2 to 3 of us. Typically, we were in a big group, and we were doing cell searches. That's what we did at the holiday unit, the stale unit. When I went over to Ellis, working in the high security, it was me, another cadet, working in the segregation area. Officer's name was Reese. It was good stuff. What is it? You graduate the academy. Cool. Got everything under control. Reported into the Styles unit Monday morning. Show up, got your paperwork from the academy, hanging out in the visitation area outside the warden's office, waiting for FTO Lewis to come in, who has since retired. Congratulations on that. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. She'd come in typically around 8:15, 8:20-ish, something like that. We'd follow her to her office. She'd give us our assignments throughout the day. Her day ended at 3 o'clock. That meant she was in her car leaving at 3 o'clock. What'd that mean for us? That meant we had to be back to her office no later than 2:30. We had to give her back our radios, our spray. I do that because the vest that I had the slot in the center of the vest for it. give her our spray, fill out any paperwork that we needed to. We were done. Go home, you're great. What I didn't know, day shift had, from the time we got there, day shift had been there for approximately 2 hours. Day shift would continue to be there after we left for another 3.5 hours. So you don't really have the real feel, the reality of what's going on. When that reality hits, it's typically by the end of the first 4-day shift. I got my shift assignment, 1-1 day shift segregation. Cool. Spoke to the lady that worked at the picket. She was a CO5. There was a control desk outside of segregation. 12 building, big long building. You had the door, you had the office. It was its own control facility. They maintained inventory of all the gear for seg, all the bean tools, all the handcuffs, the keys, the pepper spray that we were supposed to get, anything, the paperwork, anything that was supposed to be issued out or anything that could pose any kind of an escape hazard was controlled inside that picket. It was always run by a CO5. You had one during the day shift, one during the evening shift. I'd gone over to SEG, let them know, hey, I'll be reporting in with you guys. She told me about shift starts at 6:30, that you probably might want to get here an hour early just to make sure. You don't want to get held up and pat down. Now, I had heard about how that worked. The only way that I had seen it was when I had reported in for the first 2 times for working day shift. Had to get there dog ass early to get in. Now, come to find out, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you might be on time. If you're super early, you can take your time. So what did that mean for me? Well, I had a house in Beaumont. Styles unit's located on the outskirts of Beaumont. It's basically in the county. It's in between where Beaumont and what we call Mid-County. Mid-County being Nederland, Groves, Port Neches, and the dreaded Port Arthur. It was somewhere in the center of all that. If you're looking at the Styles, you had the Gist unit to the right. You had the LeBlanc unit, both of those state jail facilities. To the right of it, you had the morgue. You had the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. To the left of it, TYC, Texas Youth Commission. At the time, the buildings were still there, but that unit had been shut down. They weren't housing any more youth offenders. The buildings were just basically abandoned buildings, relics of its time. And then you got into the city from there. So from where my house was to get to Styles, if I was riding good with traffic, it took me about 40 minutes, depending on what was going on. I found out through my routine, I needed to wake up no later than 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, 3:30 a.m. We couldn't go to work and change out in locker rooms. We didn't have locker rooms. You needed to be dressed out, ready to go from the time you walked into the facility. So I'd wake up, I'd have some coffee, I'd put my uniform on, get in my truck, I'd drive. I'd try to leave the house no later than 4 o'clock, that's 4 in the morning, put me there around about 4:45, 4:50 in the morning. Get through the first set of pat downs. I'd get there that early because I like to go to the ODR, I like to get me some breakfast. You could either get eggs with some toast. Most of the time they didn't have eggs. Jackasses typically had already sold them by the time I got there. There was always pancakes on the side. Most of the time, it'd be pancakes. You get 2 pancakes, some syrup, some rot gut style coffee, or some of that red saccharin flavored fruit punch that was always on tap. Typically for me, it was water, coffee. Eat that. All right, cool. Get myself back into turnout. You had to be sitting in the turnout room before 6:30. If you tried to get in after 6:30, if Jones was running the shift, God, I hate that name. Usually he'd lock the door and he'd leave you standing out there for a while, let you in. You'd sign your write-up at the end of the shift. I say, I never got to deal with that. I was always on time. I was always early. Once 6:30 was done, we had our shift assignments. We knew what pod we were headed out to. You go up, you get your paperwork, get your bean tool, keys, handcuffs, walk down in our group, get to the pod, relieve the night shift, and start the daily routine from there. Started with shaking the bars from the day room, checking the outside rec, going to the first cell, tapping on the door. Hey, you want a shower? You want rec? Usually one of the first things you hear, hey boss, hey, who in the picket? They want to know who the picket boss was. They could already see who was working the floor. They want to know who the picket boss was. Usually that was some form of manipulation they were going to do. Officer Carter, typically I'd go, you want shower or rec? Hey, motherfucker, who's in the picket? All right, no shower, no rec. Hey, motherfucker. And then the day would start from there. I had all different kinds of responses, depending on what mood I was in. That's typically how it would go. You'd work from 6:30 to 6:30 in the evening. We got a 30-minute break. For the smokers, that meant they were typically running to the parking lot, grab what they needed to in the car, get back to the facility. For me, that was go to the ODR, grab some kind of lunch, whatever kind of mystery meat, sweat meat, bullshit sandwich, pulled pork looking kind of thing, bean that was half-ass cooked, raw-ass vegetable that was basically pureed because it had been boiled and cooked so long, whatever they had on the line. That's what you would eat. It was free. Have some more water, have some more rot gut coffee that had been sitting there all freaking morning, probably since the night shift. Go back in sig, go back to doing what we were doing. 6:30 would hit, night shift would relieve us, time to get out of there. Now everything's in reverse. Problem with getting off, everybody showed up to work at different times. Everybody got off all at the same time. So we're all trying to get out of here. There were all different kinds of checkpoints and gates that you had to get to. You'd have a gate that you'd go through to get into a waiting area to get to the next gate to get through that one. That's called a sally port. There could only be 10 individuals in the sally port at the time. There'd be a boss controlling it. They'd have a little camera. You press the button beside the thing, it would ring a little bell in their office. They'd look, they'd see who it was. If they didn't like you, they'd make you stand there. Needless to say, I stood at gates for quite a decent amount of time. They'd pop the lock. You'd come in. We knew there were only supposed to be 10. If there were 11, the sally port boss wouldn't open the next gate. They start telling you over the intercom, too many in there, too many in there. It's like, all right, who was the last one? Get them out of there, shut it, and then you could get out. So from 6:30 to me getting out, a lot of times, if I was lucky, a good day, it'd be 6:50 in the evening. Take a minimum of 20 minutes to get out of that place. If it was one of those days, it could be anywhere after 7 o'clock to 7:10 in the evening when I'd be in my truck with the truck running. Now you got to drive home. It wasn't too bad in the evening time because most of the people were already off work, so the traffic was done. I typically get home around 7:50. 8 o'clock was pushing it a lot of times. 7:40, 7:45, 7:50 were good times to be home in the evening. That would leave me 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, barely 8 hours that I had to be up and on my way to work. Everyone talks about, hey, get you a good 8 hour at night sleep. That's if you got home and went straight to bed. But no, you got to get home and you got to deal with your family affairs. I was fortunate enough at the time I wasn't married yet. She did live with me. We weren't married. We didn't have any kids. Still don't. We did have our fur babies. Got to take care of that. For the ones that have wives, husbands, kids that they have to deal with, you got to spend time with them. You got to unwind. You got to kick back. You got to take a long, hot shower to wash all that nasty funk off of you from that damn facility you've been running around for the last... By the time I'd get there, 4:45 to 7, that's 4, 12, about 15 hours, roughly. So it's a 12-hour shift that you're getting paid for to physically be at the facility for around 15 hours. That would go times 4. Then you would start your 4 days off. Typically, the first day off on the 4th off shift, sleep. Sleep just to try to get the body recovered. Second and third day, that's when you take care of your business. 4th day, last day, trying to get yourself ready mentally wise, get that mind frame going, time to go back to the bullshit, and then wake up that 4th day on the first start of your 4-day shift, all back at that same time. Rinse, wash, repeat. If anything threw a ringer in that, when it was time to get off, If anything threw a ringer in that, if you had to stay up, had to go to the doctor's office, hospital, dealing with something at the house, anything at all. Let's say it keeps you up till 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. That means you'd sleep for about 4 hours. Wake up again, tired, groggy. That wasn't no break time. You couldn't get to the facility and be like, hey man, I got to take it easy today. The second those inmates saw that, they jump all over that. They do anything and everything they could to get you run off the facility. And fatigue, physical fatigue, mental fatigue was a big thing about it. I can only imagine what it's like nowadays. Riding the COVID wave, all that's done, this mobile transport thing, not transport, but the mobile corrections officers that have to travel to all the different places. I can only imagine what it's like. So, I know it's a little delayed. I hope that answers that viewer's question about, and everyone else's, about what it's like. You know, a lot of people, they just think about the 12 hours as being 12 hours there. It's a lot more when you get into it. A lot of people think about the inmates, the prisoners, the convicts being the main thing to worry about. Oh, no, no, no. You knew to expect it from them, but you're taking it on all sides. You got shady-ass coworkers you got to watch out for, crooked-ass supervisors looking for any reason to write people up just so they can make themselves look good, backwards administration trying to get stuff done. You follow your post orders, you don't get the job done, you get wrote up. You don't follow your post orders, you get wrote up. I'm sorry to make this a negative kind of video, but that's the realities of working at TDC. You still want to join? You still want to sign up? Good luck to you. Folks, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Again, I apologize for the inconsistency with the videos. I'll try to stick to a schedule. Just these videos, they just happen organically. They just have to come to me. Hope everyone has a great Labor Day. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. I'll see y'all in the next video. Cheers, and Carter's out.